good afternoon, good evening, good morning, or generally good day, everybody. It's lovely to be with you today. My name is Peter Klappa, and I am teaching in the School of Biosciences at the University of Kent. It's an incredible pleasure for me to be invited to give one of these talks. Hopefully, it will all go well with the technology. As I said earlier, I'm a little bit anxious about this presentation. And the presentation is about anxiety. But first of all, I thought it might be quite useful if I give you a little bit of introduction to myself. As you can hear, I am not a native speaker. 26 years. Is it 26? Yes, next week. It is 26 years that I left my native home in Germany. And I had this grand idea. I want to see the big wide world. So I came to Kent. And the plan was to stay for 2 years as a scientist, as a researcher, and then go back to Germany again. Well, I'm still here. So in a way, I guess they're doing something right at the university. I really enjoyed it staying here. Although the first couple of years, there was quite a change and to what I was used, but then I met my wife, 2 children later, and the rest is history, as they say. My research area really is proteins, how proteins fold into the correct 3-dimensional shape. But I'm also incredibly passionate about learning and teaching. I really like that. I think also for myself, I enjoy learning new things. And I discovered that the more I teach, the more I learn myself. So if anyone wants to learn a topic, my suggestion would be teach the topic because you learn it. And if you can teach it to your peers or to your pets or to your cactus or to your desk lamp, and if you can teach it and they understand it, then you understand it. And that is what it's all about, learning. So I'm passionate about learning and teaching. And also, I'm really interested in what stops people from learning, from being efficient learners. And one of the things that over the years has come up time and time again in terms of what stops people from learning efficiently is anxiety. Anxiety is something that lots of people, lots of students suffer and experience, and it has an impact on their learning. Now, I have tried to figure out how many people actually suffer from anxiety, and I would say it's probably around 1 in 4, 1 in 3 people actually claim that they suffer from anxiety. And it can go from mild feeling a little bit uneasy about something to full-blown panic attacks. And so what I want to do in this session today is I want to talk a little bit about anxiety, what it is, why you actually are pretty fortunate. If you suffer from anxiety, I would to say, congratulations. And that might sound totally weird, but I will explain to you why I think that is a good thing to have anxiety. I will talk a little bit about how it can manifest itself and the different ways how anxiety work. And also I want to talk to you then about how you can sort of play tricks on your brain so that you can beat anxiety, at least for a short period of time. So let's get started. And I also, it was a little bit of spoiler alert, I already said, if you are suffering from anxiety, congratulations, it is actually a good thing, and it kept you alive. Why is that? Has Klappa totally lost it? Okay, let's imagine we are winding back the clock 45,000 years. You probably can't remember a lot about that time, but imagine it's a sunny day, you are just getting up, you are living in a cave. You look out, yeah, it's a lovely day. You want to get some breakfast. You know you've been in this cave for a few weeks now, you know your area. You know that over there, when you go out, there's a big rock there. So you go out and you're looking for breakfast. You know there have been some berries over there in the bushes. So you walk past this big rock and bang! I hope I frightened you. Bang! There was a saber-toothed cat hiding behind that rock. And, well, that's it basically. Saber-toothed cats killed by impact. They killed their prey by breaking the neck through just simply the impact of jumping on them. That's it. End of the story. Okay, here's the second scenario. The second scenario is 45,000 years, cave, rock. You wake up, it's a sunny day. You think, oh, I'm going to get some breakfast. But your brain says, oh, it could be a little bit dangerous. Watch out. There is, particularly, you don't know what's behind this rock. So I think what you should do is take some weapon with you and try to avoid getting too close to this rock because you don't know what's there. Of course, this is not what a voice tells you. This all happens in your brain, and the brain doesn't talk to you really. It uses chemical and electrical signals, and we will look into that in a minute. But what the reaction is you will have a slightly uneasy feeling, slightly anxious feeling. So you avoid this rock. And what you see is that behind this rock, there was the saber-toothed cat stalking you. But luckily, the distance was too far, so the cat couldn't take any action. And they were lousy runners. And you also had sticks and clubs, so you could defend yourself. So in a way, anxiety helped you to survive. Believe it or not, anxiety is a good thing to stop you from being killed, from doing stupid things. So in a way, anxiety is very, very helpful. And the part in your brain that is actually responsible for this anxiety response, this is a part in your brain, if you dive deep into it, it is in the cerebrum. It's a structure that is shaped a little bit like a seahorse. That's why it's called a hippocampus. And on top of this hippocampus, If you can imagine, that's a sort of the seahorse. And on top of that, there is a little structure that is shaped like an almond. And you've got both in both hemispheres of the brain. So this almond-shaped structure, it's called the amygdala, which is Greek for almond. And in this almond-shaped structure, there is sort of the fear response. There is where anxiety is generated. And it's a good thing. Trust me. So anxiety helped you to survive. Anxiety stops you from doing stupid things in a way. Anxiety stops you from standing in the middle of a busy road. So in a way, this is not a bad thing. And if you think about it like that, the brain, the job of the brain, and in particular of this tiny almond-shaped form of nerve cells, of ganglions, the function of that is to keep you safe. Always remember that. And if you like, you can think of it as sort of your guardian angel. This amygdala is your guardian angel. It stops you from doing stupid and weird things. And if you like, you can even give it a name. I've called mine Brian. So Brian is there to help and protect me, to make sure that there is no harm coming my way. So how does it do that? Well, of course, we are always exposed to the environment, to stimuli from the environment. So with our senses, we notice what's going on around us. So for example, visual cues, audio cues, touch, pain, temperature, all these things are cues that help us to assess our environment. And usually these cues go through the senses, eyes, nose in case of smell, and so on and so forth. And then they are sent to the cerebrum, to the frontal lobe, and there is a logic processing. So it's not just evaluation. Is this a smell? Is this a sound or something like that? These senses, these inputs, if you like, are put into context and sort of the brain looks at them, says, yeah, okay, I've got a rose here. I recognize that has the shape of the rose. It is red and it smells good and everything is okay. And here I've got a blue rose. What? A blue rose? Oh, hang on, that's interesting. That's a blue. So what your brain does, it is sort of evaluating it in a logical way. And it is asking itself, have I seen that before? Does that make sense? And so on and so forth. So this is actually how we evaluate our environment. And all the perceptions, all the sensual perceptions that we have will go this route. They will go through the receptors and then as chemical and electrochemical signals will go to the logic sector. There are two exceptions actually, where it bypasses the logic sector. It does not go through the logic sector in the first place. Sight, smell, touch, pain, thermoreceptor, they all go this normal route to the logic sector, and then it will be stored in the memory. That's all one part. There is another part, however, and this other part takes a direct route to the amygdala. And these two senses that use this direct route to the amygdala are sound and touch. Sound and touch go first to the amygdala, and in the amygdala, in this almond-shaped part of the brain, a decision will be made. Is this something that I need to worry about? The amygdala cannot do any logic. The amygdala is just there to make a judgment. Is it dangerous or is it not dangerous? That is, for example, when people get touched by something unexpectedly. They go like, ooh, wah, ha, something like that. Or if there's a loud noise, like I did earlier with this bang, when the saber-toothed cat struck. This is where people get, oh my God, what's happening? So we need to remember that the amygdala cannot do any logic processing, but it can store memories. And that's, again, another very important point, which we will discuss in a minute. This has consequences. So the amygdala stores memories and it processes touch and sound. It cannot do any logic. So let's look at anxiety. What is anxiety? And I said, anxiety is your guardian angel. It protects you from all sorts of harm. And there is, if you like, a sort of a conversation going on between brain, that's the amygdala, and the rest of your consciousness and the rest of your brain. So, for example, lots of people suffer from social anxiety. They don't want to be amongst other people. They feel uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable? Well, actually, uncomfortable is a slight reaction from the amygdala, from, in my case, brain, but you can call it whatever you want. It is a reaction where brain says, it's not really good if you want to leave your room and go to the kitchen. I suggest you don't do it. Now, the rest of my brain says, yeah, okay, I hear what you say, brain, but I want a glass of water. Now, the amygdala, aka Brian, says, no, I don't want you to go to the kitchen. It's not a safe place. Please don't go to the kitchen. I need you to be safe. Okay. Now you have two choices. You can say, okay, I listen to you. I'm not going to the kitchen. I stay in my room where I'm safe. And Brian goes, yes, we kept him safe. Bingo, smashing. Or you can be the naughty child in a way. You can say, okay, I want to talk to my friends. I want a glass of water. So in this case, the amygdala gets a little bit more forceful. Amygdala says, no, I told you, do not go. Of course, the amygdala can't speak. So what the amygdala does is it will send out the signal to release a little bit of some very powerful chemicals, neurotransmitters, hormones. Stress hormones, adrenaline, one of the stress hormones, just a tiny little amount. So what do you feel when there is adrenaline? Well, you feel a little bit uncomfortable. It makes your heart go a little bit faster. Your breathing becomes more intense. You start a little bit of, you feel it's quite warm in here, actually. It's a little bit sweating and feel uncomfortable. So that is basically the amygdala or brain saying, it's not such a good idea. Don't go. Now you've got, again, two options. You can say, right, I totally get it. I'm not going into the kitchen. I stay in my room. And Brian goes, yes, good. We stopped him from doing something dangerous. Potentially, we kept him safe in his room. That is where it's safe. Or the other thing is you could ignore. You could say, actually, I don't care what you say, Brian. I want to go into the kitchen. It's a little bit like parents and a naughty child, disobedient child. Now, in this case, the amygdala says, flipping hell, he doesn't listen to me. So what I need to do is I give the signal, I need to keep him safe. I need to make sure that he doesn't do anything dangerous. And more chemicals are released. Adrenaline, cortisol, all these very, very potent stress hormones are released. What does that do to you? More stress hormones. You feel really uneasy. You feel anxious now. You think, oh, no, it's really not good to go there. You start sweating, heart palpitations. You go like, oh my God, this is really not good. And then again, you have two options. You stay in your room. Brian goes, yes, it was hard work, but at least we kept him safe. Or you say, oh my God, no, I need to go out now. You disobey. Brain responds with even more stress hormones. And in this case, you've got a full-blown panic attack. This is what a panic attack is. The release of a lot of stress hormones that basically stop everything else from working. We know that adrenaline and cortisol actually, when they are released in a high dosage, what happens in this case is that it shuts down this logic pathway in your brain, in your frontal lobes, in the cerebrum. The logic evaluation center will be shut down. And everything else will be redirected through the amygdala, where the amygdala says, no, this is danger. Don't go. You can't go. This is also why when a person has a panic attack, there's absolutely no point in trying to explain them with logic that their situation is not dangerous. If somebody has a panic attack, the only thing that you can do is write it out or try a slightly different trick that I share with you in a few minutes. But this is what anxiety and a panic attack does. It shuts down the logic. Everything goes through the amygdala to evaluate. And in this case, then, this is the strongest, most powerful message for you. Do not go out of the room. typical panic attack. Lots of people suffer from it. And it's, you know, it's incredibly unpleasant. People start to vomit because of the chemicals. They are so powerful. They start to vomit, they sweat, the heart is racing like crazy. Breathing becomes very, very intense. People say, oh my God, I don't get enough oxygen. Well, adrenaline is the fight and flight hormone that makes sure that you are prepared to, you know, to fight off any danger or to run away. So it prepares you, but it also triggers all these things like heart palpitations and a racing heart. Most people will say, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. You've probably heard that. Oh my God, you just gave me a heart attack or something like that. This is the excessive stimulation through adrenaline. And it's extremely powerful. The good thing is that, no, it's not a heart attack. And it is extremely rare that somebody dies from a panic attack. So a panic attack is actually not something that happens that would kill you. It is just preventing you from doing something or thinking about something or going somewhere, or, you know, you get the drift. So panic attack is there to protect you. Now, the good thing also about a panic attack is the release of these stress hormones will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And then they are in the system for another maybe 10 minutes. So usually a panic attack will last only for 10, 20, 25 minutes, and then it will ebb off again. So this is sort of a natural switch to come down from this incredibly intense experience. Hopefully by then you got the message and stay in your room. Actually, you would not be able to leave the room if you have a panic attack. This is almost impossible because it is such an intense experience. But Brian is not just happy with that, and he goes like, yes, we stopped him from doing something incredibly dangerous, i.e. leaving the room. Brian does something even more powerful. Brian, the amygdala, will actually store this memory of this panic attack. And where will it be stored? Will it be stored in the logic sector of the brain, in the forebrain? Or will it be stored where it can't be tampered with? Now remember, if we store it in the forebrain, in the logic part of the brain, then in the case of a lot of adrenaline again, or when the situation comes up, or similar situation comes up again, this memory will no longer be accessible. So it's not good to store it in the logic sector of the brain. This memory will be actually stored deep down in the amygdala, because this is the pathway that is still active when adrenaline is around. So in the amygdala, memory is stored. And this memory is stored as, remember, 2 days ago, you wanted to go into the kitchen. But this was so dangerous. And luckily you didn't go, you stopped from going, it would have killed you. This is how this memory is stored in the amygdala. It was something absolutely life-threatening. It's totally exaggerated. It wasn't life-threatening, but it is stored as this was life-threatening, and I just managed to keep you barely alive. So remember that forever. Going into the kitchen is dangerous. It will kill you. And that is the memory that is stored in the amygdala. So the next time you think, oh, hey, I'm going into the kitchen, I have a glass of water, this memory is activated. Brian doesn't really need to do anymore because this powerful memory is sitting there saying, no, you're not going into the kitchen. Remember, 2 days ago, you almost died. And this memory, again, triggers the release of stress hormones. And what happens is stress hormones, powerful memory, presto, you've got your next panic attack. And this panic attack actually emphasizes and reinforces this memory. We've got another panic attack, which will be again stored on top of the previous memory of the panic attack. So you have not just one panic attack, you have several panic attacks. You accumulate the memory of these life-threatening events. And every time you have a panic attack, you add to it its potentiation of panic attacks. Makes it more and more powerful. Now, of course, there are also lesser forms of these sort of panic attacks. Brain has a lot of very subtle ways of dealing with things. For example, instead of going into full panic attack, brain can do something like more subtle, if you like. It could be, for example, saying, well, you see, if you go into the kitchen, there are people, and these people, they will laugh at you, right? Because should you be really here at the university, for example? Look, you are, let's face it, you are a fluke. You are not worthy of going to here. Somebody has made a mistake letting you in. Now, when you hear that, this is sort of, oh, yeah, that's weird. In fact, it is an attempt of Brian, the amygdala, to keep you out of the kitchen because it's not safe. So the message is, well, you shouldn't be here. You can't possibly assume that you can talk to people. What are you doing here? Why did you come in? You are, hey, wait, you are an imposter. You shouldn't be. Somebody made a mistake getting you into university. You shouldn't be here. So this is another, probably a little bit more subtle way, not the full-blown panic attack, but again, it is an attempt to keep you safe, to stop you from doing something that Brian perceives as dangerous. And again, that's an incredibly powerful tool. It is called the imposter syndrome. And a lot of people suffer from that when they start a new job, or when they start university, or when they play sports or something like that. It is this feeling, no, you shouldn't be here. Somebody made a mistake, let you in. you should not do this. You are not qualified. You are not smart enough to be at the university. That is what this message says. And the attempt is to keep you safe. It's not sort of an evil attempt of curbing your enjoyment. Brain can't do that. Brain has no concept of that. It is an attempt to keep you safe. Imposter syndrome has the only function to keep you safe from not doing a job that is considered as unsafe. Now, of course, if you have been admitted to the university, we have all the faith in you that you can do this job. No doubt about it. We know that you can do it. We have the experience. We can tell that you can do that. And yet, brain, the amygdala, says, it's dangerous. It's unsafe. We should not do that. Let's not do that. So let's trigger the imposter syndrome. If that doesn't help, well, we have to get the big guns out. We have to get out the panic attack again. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. And as I said before, it's not something that is evil or malfunctioning. The purpose of this process is to keep you safe. Keep you safe from the saber-toothed cat, from standing in the middle of the road, from any potential dangers. Sometimes they are perceived dangers. They don't exist as such if you think about it logically. What could possibly go wrong if you leave your room, go into the kitchen and get a glass of water? Not a lot. Here's another example. Spiders. Lots of people are scared of spiders. Why? Well, it's sort of, spiders are weird things, right? They've got too many legs, really, and their shape is diffuse. So the brain can't really immediately process what's going on. That's not natural. It's black, it's running around, and then, oh God, no. Now, if you think about it, in most cases, spiders are fairly small, and they are not dangerous. I'm not going to show a picture of a spider because that could trigger panic attacks. So, spider, panic attack. But if you think about it, they are not dangerous. And you are definitely not within their prey scheme. They can't eat you. So why would they attack you? There's no reason why a spider, unless you live in southern Australia where you've got a lot of venomous spiders, you need to be a little bit careful. But here in the UK, why would you have a panic attack from a tiny little spider? My daughter, I mean, she detects microscopic spiders sitting up in the corner of the room. Nobody can see the spider. She has a panic attack. And in order to perceive a threat, you don't even have to experience it yourself, this threat. You just hear about it. You see somebody screaming about a spider, and immediately brain makes this connection. Whoa, there's something dangerous. Oh, it's a spider. Oh my God. My daughter actually developed this arachnophobia because her aunt has this arachnophobia, and my daughter heard my aunt talking about that. And she immediately developed this arachnophobia. Oh my God, there is a spider. And every time she sees a spider, she has a panic attack. Now, the panic attack is the response saying, we need to do something, run away, scream, freeze, do whatever, because that will keep you safe. And of course, it keeps her safe because the spider is not doing anything, right? So the spider is not attacking. So she will survive the spider. But brain then will store it as a memory. I helped her survive by doing a certain thing. Now, how can you overcome a panic attack? There are not many options. One of the options, actually, however, is confusion. Sounds strange, but if your brain sort of has another thing that is sort of coming in, another stimulus that's coming in, and that actually also goes through the amygdala at the same time where panic attack, where this intense anxiety happens. If there is something like that coming in, then the brain gets confused. It's sort of, hang on, what's happening? And I don't understand. And it will stop immediately the release of these stress hormones. So how can you confuse it? Remember what I said. Touch is one of the things that is incredibly, that goes through the amygdala. And that's very powerful. And you can use that as a confusion. Now, I said what you would like to have at hand for this session today is a little ball of paper. So I've got a little ball of paper. I hope you can see that here. And what you can do is you can do a really, really weird experiment. So you have your ball of paper. And I suggest you just put that down on a desk. So I've got it here in front of, let's see if I can actually do that here. So I've got this ball of paper here on my desk. And now what you do is take the index and the middle finger and sort of cross your fingers. The wider you cross them, the better it is. Should look like sort of crossed fingers. Yeah. Now what you do is you put this ball between these fingers down here, right? And you move it a little bit around. So that looks a little bit like this, like that. Move it around. And if you do it properly, and I hope you can see it here, if you do it properly, you will experience something really, really weird. Now, I would have asked people, what do they experience? But we don't have a lot of participants. What you will experience is that all of a sudden you feel two of these paper balls. This touch, it feels like there is two balls, but you know it's only one. So this leads to an incredible confusion. And remember, touch goes through the amygdala, like the panic response, but at the same time. So it is total confusion. And this is called a confusion therapy. And when somebody suffers from a panic attack, get a little ball out, do this rubbing between the crossed fingers. And it has to be, the fingers has to be crossed because the brain interprets that there is a stimulus on this side and a stimulus on this side. And this can only happen actually if, so it's this side and this side. It can only happen if there are two balls. This scenario is not programmed. But if you get the stimulus there, it leads to total confusion. And the brain goes, what the heck is going on? There is touch coming in. Hey, we need to deal with that. Let's forget about the panic thing, about the spider thingy, and you know, let's not deal with that. Let's go for this touch thing. This is weird. You will find panic attack subsides, it completely dissipates. And within a few minutes, the panic attack is over. It's bizarre. And it will not be stored as a memory, because actually the brain is too confused. It can't store it. So I think this is an incredibly powerful thing, a powerful trick to overcome anxiety, severe anxiety, and panic attacks. Just this little confusion thing. Now, of course, brain has also other tricks still up its sleeve to make you remember things and then stop you from doing things. One of these things is, well, the fear of maths, and that links in with the imposter syndrome. For a lot of people, maths is something quite scary. It's numbers. There are lots of numbers, and it's sort of, numbers are, man, I don't want to deal with numbers. It's just, no, it doesn't feel right. My brain is not wired for numbers. I can't do numbers, and therefore I won't even attempt it. And they start becoming anxious. I want to give you a sort of an example. If my screen share works, let me see. Yes. So here it would be. Here is a lovely equation. And now the question is, can you solve this equation for me, please? It's a simple equation. It's not terribly demanding, and it's, it's just simple. Can you solve that for me quickly? Now, what you will find is that a lot of people, when they see this equation, they start saying, OMG, this is, that looks horrible. This is, no way can I solve this. Sometimes memory comes in where you've been told by your teachers, you will never be good in maths or something like that. And come on, do something, but don't do maths. You are a failure in maths. You shouldn't do maths, all these things. And that comes back as a memory. And that's why people then freeze and start hyperventilating. Oh my God, there's maths, and oh, there are numbers, and I can't, no way I can solve that. So can you solve that? A lot of people will say no. And I tell you, your brain is actually designed, it is hardwired to even solve complex mathematical equations. Let's see if I get this back. So do I need to do the screen share? Don't need to do that anymore. Where is it? So let's go back to screen. Doesn't matter. So people freeze when they see that. They say, I can't do that. And I tell you, yes, you can do it. I told you earlier, or in the description for that, have a ball or something, or a tennis ball or an apple or something like that at hand. Now, what I want you to do is, if you've got it, just throw it a few times like that. Catch it, something like that. Yeah. Hopefully you can catch it. It doesn't drop to the ground. with this old orange, it wouldn't make a huge difference. Why do I do that actually? Because what you just did, and that is another absolutely amazing aspect of your brain. What you just did is you solved this equation here. This, what looks like a really complicated thing. You just solved this. Isn't that amazing? Without even doing anything, because this is the equation for a vertical throw. Your brain is so amazing. It can do these calculations like that. And if you think about that, this is an incredibly powerful memory. And this now can, if you did it right, this now can replace this memory of failure. This is now something positive. And I told you earlier, negative memories stored in the amygdala stack up. But now comes a positive memory. And with a little bit of training and positive memories, you can sort of totally obliterate all the negative memories. So what you have just done is you created a positive memory of you solving an extremely complicated equation. Isn't that amazing what your brain can do? And you did it without pen and paper or calculator. You just simply could do it because your brain is hardwired to do even complex maths. So for example, if I do something like that, this is a complex motion, right? But it's easy, everybody can do that. But if you try to do that mathematically, it's really complex. But you can do it because your brain is designed to do things like that. So the take-home message is, your brain wants to keep you safe. That's why you have anxiety. Sometimes it's getting a little bit overexcited and overzealous. And you can use a few tricks to deal with it. For example, you can say to your brain, okay, Brian, you did such a fantastic job to keep me safe for the last 20, 30, 40, in my case, even longer years. You looked out for me. I really want to go into the kitchen and have a glass of water. Brian will say, no, don't do that. And what you say is you actually talk to Brian. And that's why it's good if you give it a name. You talk to Brian and say, okay, Brian, tell you what, it's really appreciated that you are here, my guardian angel, that you look after me. But I'll tell you what, today, I want to give you a little bit of a break. Why don't you sit over there in a nice comfy chair? I know that you are here. You are just sort of today, you have worked so hard over the last, God knows how many years. You've worked so hard. Just relax tonight. If it gets hairy, you step in. But let's just simply go into the kitchen, have a glass of water, because you can relax. This is actually an incredibly powerful phrase if you think about it, because you can relax tonight. Everything is good. And Brian will say, oh, actually, that's really nice. And you can say, Brian, would you like a nice cup of tea? Would you like a biscuit with that tea? Would you like a chocolate biscuit, maybe? And Brian goes, Oh, that's nice. That I really would like that. I tell you what, let's go into the kitchen and get some water. You go into the kitchen. Brian is still sitting there going, yeah, that's actually quite comfy. I don't have to worry about things. It's not that bad, actually. And this will be stored as a powerful, positive memory again. Isn't that amazing? If you think about it. With just this simple trick, talking to Brian, if they have a name, that's why you should give it a name, makes it incredibly powerful. You can overcome this sort of overzealous guardian protection by just having a little chat and say, it's okay. You don't have to work tonight. Relax a little bit. It's all good. And this will stop triggering anxiety and then even potentially this panic attack. But if there is a panic attack, again, you know what to do. Just a simple paper ball will do the trick. So I hope in this session today, you learned a little bit about anxiety, what it's all about, what the mechanisms are that lead to anxiety, and how you can overcome it. And anxiety is not necessarily a bad thing. Anxiety is helping to keeping you safe. On that note, I hope you have a safe evening, or a safe day, wherever in the world you are. You enjoyed this talk, and if you've got any questions, I'd be very happy to answer any questions and we can talk. So I'll hang around for another couple of minutes. If you don't have any questions, thank you very much for watching, and it was a pleasure to talk to you about a topic that I'm really passionate about. Thank you very much, and I shall see you soon. Take care.